I used to be the skinniest kid around. I was the skinniest kid in middle school. I absolutely hated it. I'm gonna be sharing my story on how scrawny I actually was. I was a buck 18, soaking wet in middle school, in my freshman year of high school, with depression and all the stuff that comes with it. From being like physically incompetent, I don't know. I was extremely skinny. Girls were rejecting me like from every direction. It just wasn't it. I always had the thought of like going into a store and thinking that all the eyeballs were on me. I would always think from every direction there was like no escaping. Everybody was gonna look at me in some type of way. Everybody was looking at me some type of way negatively because I looked at myself negatively. That's why I'm a firm believer in, you see the world exactly in the same perception in which you view yourself in. So if you view yourself as good, you're gonna see the world as good. If you view yourself as bad, you're gonna see the world as bad. So I was extremely unsatisfied with myself, with my physique, with my mentality, and everything. And that's why I tell people all the time, it's not about diet and abs, it's about confidence and clarity. Like, the gym didn't really grant me everything that I truly wanted physically, because you're always going to be chasing after something more physically. It's really the mental aspect of it. It's about creating the individual that can actually achieve the result, going down the journey that it takes to receive the certain result rather than solely focusing on the result itself. And that alone creates enough confidence and clarity within yourself that you can walk into any room and not be insecure, not be less confident than whenever you're most confident. It did a lot for me. I was just hurt within myself. I would always walk on the beach and I would see myself from like a certain angle and say, okay, I'm getting a little bigger, but then I see myself from like the worst angle possible. It was like viewing yourself in the mirror from the back. Like the back arm, this whole entire view from like, if you're standing like this in the mirror and you're just like, let's just say like you're the mirror. I turn around and I look at myself like that. Like the back was always the worst possible view for me. Every single time when I passed the mirror to go use the bathroom, I would always think, I would avoid looking in the mirror. I was not happy with what I saw looking right back at me in the mirror, not only physically but mentally as well. You can't really be truly present if you're not proud of your presence, if you're not proud of who you are within that present moment. So, I was not proud of myself. I was not happy with who I was and what I became. I would eat everything in my pantry. I would eat everything. I would try, to eat as many oats as I can, the mass gainer shakes. I couldn't gain any weight. I was like I said, 118 pounds. I might have got up to like 120, 130 pounds, and then I stopped. I plateaued. I had absolutely nothing. I didn't know how to train. I was boxing, lifting weights, but didn't know how to lift them, And it was really miserable for me. I would always have this image in my mind that needed to be a protector. I needed to go save this woman from this villain, and then she will forever be mine. I was this knight. I was this I had this vision inside my head, but I wasn't physically competent. I wanted to be a superhero. I wanted to be a villain. I had this inspiration from looking at movies and TV channels and everything, but the physical aspect never really followed. That's really what motivated me in the first place, was having the idea in my mind that I had to be a provider and protector for the woman of my life in the future, for the woman in which I wanted to receive in the future. I had that mindset when I was 5 to 6 years old. I always still had a certain image within my mind that I had to be physically competent and capable of really, being capable of great harm to somebody or individual that ever really wanted to cause harm on me or my family. I think that's every man's idea or ideal vision or version of themselves. I would see all the huge jack guys like Dorian Yates and all of that with they didn't have tattoos, but more jack guys with tattoos, and I would just think that's extremely admirable and desirable for women. So that was a main motivator of mine. Because like I said, I would get rejected by the women. I really wouldn't, especially in middle school, in the beginning year of high school, it was nothing, because I was extremely scrawny and skinny, and I was insecure with myself. I would put on a shirt, and the shirt would just absolutely swallow my freaking bicep, and I would hate that so much. And I would always wear a hoodie. It doesn't matter how hot it was. It didn't matter how hot it was. I would wear a hoodie with freaking 90 degrees outside, and I would wear a jacket and never want to take it off. I know a lot of overweight people do that, but I know us skinny people do the exact same thing because we hate our physiques, And I mean, even now to this day, I still like throw my arms up. Like if I have a shirt on, I try to like roll my sleeves up, like throw, you know what I'm saying, to try to make the shirt come back up, and I like roll my jacket sleeves up to my forearm right here to make this portion of my arm look bigger. There's a lot of little things we do. You know, and just getting in shape absolutely changed my life. It changed my whole entire life because now people saw me as an actual sign and a man of respect. Respect for myself, respect for my body, respect for my physical health, and now I can walk into a room with the utmost confidence, clarity, than that I possibly could. Operating from no more confusion. So now, a physique like this, even like this, you know, can absolutely set you apart from so many people. Discipline-wise, like right off the bat, you know, when a person looks at a person that's in shape, they obviously think and they have way more respect for that person because they've done what 99% of the population would not do, which is not just get in shape, but is actually get up and forward progress towards something consistently on a daily basis. So you're actually consistently getting up and doing something and holding your word to yourself, which you've never done before. You gain so much confidence as a man because there's so many moralities and so much morals and ethics that you gain and principles that you gain getting in shape. Getting physically competent, not only looking it, but becoming it as well. Learning a martial art. I mean, you now have the utmost confidence in the freaking world. More than 50% of the population, more than 90% of the population, what am I saying? More than 99% of the population would have. Because you look into the crowd. And you see all the average individuals out there. And you say to yourself, I am not that. I am better than 99% of the population because I refuse to do the 1% of the work in which they do not want to do. But they know they need to do it in order to get to where they want to be. That's why the confidence, that's where the confidence comes from. Not from the biceps, not from the physique, not from all of this. You know, people look at that and they think that's where your confidence comes from. Because, you know, you're walking around, you're jacked, all the girls are looking at you. You know, like my years of high school, there's just girls just like grabbing me, like literally like grabbing me and all kinds of, it was a weird experience, you know, because I never really was used to that because of my middle school year, you know, everybody was rejecting me and it was just this whole thing. But if you're like, and I don't know, being skinny and, you know, having somebody overpower you very easily, you know, especially like another man, it's just something about it. It just doesn't sit right with anyone, I'm sure. And in my middle school year, there was always this big fat kid in my class that would bully me. And he would always push me and he would say, oh, you know, you scrawny kid, I could put my fucking, you know, thumb and my pinky around you, you know. And it's just like, it was the horrible feeling in the world. You get laughed at, you know. I mean, that's a middle school thing, but even it carries on into, like, future careers. Like, even in college, after college, in the military, in your job, how do you expect to really be physically capable and competent of something, you know, violently dangerous if you have to protect yourself or your family if you weigh under $160? I mean, $150, $180, you know? It doesn't sit right with me. Soft never sits right with the man who knows they're built for more harder shit, you know? I mean, it just never does at all. So, you're now looking at, you know, and I always thought, oh man, these construction workers, these 9-to-5, you know, blue collar workers, you know, they're tough. But once you actually truly get in shape, you really see what tough really is. Once you have the early mornings of going to the gym and you have this new discipline, new neurological pathway, you know, the law of exposure, once you're exposed to it, there's no going back. You're doing what even they would not do, is work on their physical body and mind every single day, because why would you take a day off for something that makes you feel so good? Now you are way more confident than what you even thought you could possibly be. You're looking at the construction worker, the blue-collar workers now, as if they are the out-of-shape people that don't have enough discipline to work hard or go to the gym. Even though, you know, they do work hard and everything, but now you're looking at everything in a way different perspective. Because when I looked at the world in the same perception when I was skinny, it was completely different than I am now. As long as I am in shape physically, you know, and have my morning processing system, and I know now how to get myself out of any negative mindset possible, then it doesn't matter what I have or don't have in this world. As long as I have that, I feel like I am set for anything. You know. And I mean, I don't get why, and I was a gamer. Every single like gaming thing I would do, I would choose the most jacked and tatted person and guy. I think we all did, I think we all do as men especially. And that's exactly what I did. So I always admired it, but a lot of people admire it, but they fail to actually go after it. But I truly admired it. I truly admired it, and I truly went after it. And when you actually accomplish that, it just feels amazing. It feels so good, you know. But if you're constantly having your hoodie on, even when it's 90 degrees outside, when you're constantly looking at yourself from every single angle, when you want to be looking good at any angle possible, it really inflicts this like insecurity within yourself. It doesn't matter how good of a time you're having, you're always thinking about, I'm out of shape, I'm skinny, I'm scrawny. If something pops off right now, I'm not going to be able to fit myself whatsoever. You know, you're meeting people that's way bigger, and you're like, you know, he would probably beat me in a fight. You know, if you're not physically competent of any martial art, especially boxing, and if you're not really bigger in size, if you weigh under 150 pounds, soaking wet, you're extremely small, and you could probably be thrown across a room. That thought in my mind absolutely destroyed me. I couldn't live with it, and I had to change it. I was in football. I did football for like a day, had football practice, had an asthma attack the exact same day. I was the smallest guy, skinniest guy. And now I climb to the absolute like top of my team in boxing, you know. And I mean, you know, I bench 300 now and all this other stuff, whatever, you know. And it's just been a very long journey from that. But I remember how painful it was being that scrawny and skinny, seeing the scale not even budge a bit, no matter how much I was eating, because I wasn't tracking my macros. You know, blaming on my high metabolism, and that I eat everything in sight, yet still don't gain any weight. Just blaming it on everything but myself. I feel like a lot of skinny guys especially compensate, and they start to do other things that aren't fitness related in order to make up for their physique, which only, I mean, it's because they failed to actually go after the true vision that they had for themselves, which was to really get big, like I had for myself, and now I'm big, and now it's just fucking amazing. Now I'm chilling in life, you know. But if you're like at your job and something bad happens, you're like, at least I'm still in shape, you know. I saw a reel where it's like, even if I got bankrupt, got fired, you know, I'm still thinking, hey, I'm still in shape. You know, that just always like motivated me to get in shape. Because I'm like, I know it would feel so good to get that type of muscle. I know, I looked at the jack, I'm like, if I could just be that, it would just feel so good. I can finally like be strong. I can finally be capable of something. I can finally have the women looking at me. Like, I can finally be proud of myself, make my people proud, you know, because I'm gonna tell you, nothing is better than having your dad be like, yeah, that's my son, showing all of his buddies at his work site, you know. My dad just turns around, he shows everybody, like, hey, yeah, you know, this is my son, you know, I mean, you know, you fucking, you know, they're like, no, he doesn't live that, like, yeah, and he's just so proud, you know. Your people would be 10 times more proud of you. You could do anything in life. You could be a fucking garbage man, and if you get jacked and you get in shape, they still would be proud of you. I mean, I just feel like that's like one of the biggest things, because it's so lost. It was very lost. It's lost now in today's society, but rarely back then did they have people that were truly huge, you know, walking around in like these small towns like I live in. Nobody was really huge, so if you get really big, everybody's looking at you like, damn, and now you're walking in, you're the biggest person in the room. You ultimately accumulate this like aura, you know, just walking around like, you know, like, you know what I'm saying, but you don't show it, obviously. But yes, it is a 10 out of 10 feeling that every man should possibly experience, you know. But I do remember the times when I was just completely out of shape. I was extremely skinny, you know. I had my ribs showing. I mean, my freaking sunken in chest, my 10-inch arms, my pencil neck. I remember it all. It was just the absolute worst possible thing. You know, you would get looked down upon as like from another man that was bigger, and you would just not be respected whatsoever. You know, you would hear this woman talking in her line, talking to your mom, being like, "Yeah, my boy, look at him, he's big. You know, he's not in shape. He's just big." He's like, "Yeah, that boy's big. You know, he's he's already 100 and whatever pounds, and he's like 6 something, and I'm like 5'8", so I'm like, fine. You know, I'm just listening to this. And then I'm just listening to this, you know, them bragging on their son or their grandson being so fucking big. And I'm just sitting here like 120 pounds, 5'8", skinny as hell, you know. And it's just like, damn, you know, it provokes so much anger within you. And having everybody just call you so skinny. I remember my parents had this, it was like a Chuck Norris bench where you like pull yourself up. It's like a little seat that went up, like, you know, you just pull yourself up. And that's the only thing I had. I went on that for like 2 hours a day, every single day after school. I didn't know what I was doing. I got a little bit stronger beginner gains, a little bit bigger beginner gains, but even that, just doing that, I remember my mom telling me, I told her about the guy, the big fat guy in the class bullying me, just like pushing me and like calling me, kicking me in my nuts and just like doing whatever because he's like, you're so skinny, you're not gonna do anything. And all she said, well, just keep trying, she said just keep trying, you'll show him one day. He would even let me punch him in the arm just for him to let me know how weak I was. It's the worst feeling possible. And I watch movies now. God speaks to me through movies, I feel like now, in order to really be the admirable person and man that I really want to be, and he did back then as well. I'd watch these movies, get extremely motivated, and start my fitness journey. Even as a kid, as like a little kid, I would go have these like 20-pound weights I just lift. I didn't know what I was doing, but now that I know what I'm doing, it's a way different story. Fitness opens the gateway a lot for monetization on a lot of things, but I don't know. I just think fitness is a thing that ailed me the most, my physique, but also benefited me the most once I fixed it. I just couldn't live with the fact that I was like scrawny and skinny, and that I would really allow any man to just manhandle me. I would want to get in a lot of fights back then. I was a bad kid. I got arrested, 5150, all this other bull crap, drinking and everything. And these people that were like way older than me were like, dude, threatening to hurt me and everything. Like I'm gonna ragdoll, and everything, and I'm skinny and scrawny, and I'm like, I was confident in myself, but I thought I could fight, but I still was skinny. Any huger, bigger man, and if you don't have any training, would manhandle you and throw you like a ragdoll. But I let that absolutely fuel my fire. My teachers would call me skinny. They're like, you are never getting big. You are so skinny. And it was just losing every single arm wrestling match that I could possibly get into. Everything of that nature accumulated into the fire that I have now of keeping and staying big. I was small all my life. And then you hear the people on TikTok like, you eat 200 pounds, victim weight. Victim weight is like, I say it's like 150 under is victim weight. That's victim weight. Because I know boxing, I know martial arts and everything like that, But that's just my story. I'll post some pictures right here on YouTube on how really skinny I was and depressed I was. I got 5150. That caused a lot of addiction issues with alcohol. Me sent to a therapist, me sent to a psych facility, me getting arrested with multiple felonies and misdemeanors because I just had no purpose in life. Boxing and fitness was the founder of my purpose. And that absolutely changed my entire life, gave me a way bigger purpose to work towards. If a man is not progressively working towards something in the future, trying to forward progress, and he is going to past regress on everything negative in the past or everything anxious in the future, and he is not doing all what he can in the present moment in order to get there. So he's not at peace, he's not proud of his presence, he's not present within himself and within the day. So if you actually get up each and every day, have a vision within your mind, and do all that what you can physically and mentally in order to get to that vision, you will always be at peace within yourself. No matter where you're at in your fitness journey, you will always be at peace within yourself because you're doing everything as a man. You're holding your word as a man, and that's what the fitness journey is actually about. It's about getting up each and every day earlier, 30 minutes earlier than you normally would, which you are now getting up 30 minutes earlier than the normal 99% of the population. So now you feel like the 1%. You feel amazing about yourself now. Now you're actually reading, reflecting. You're doing personal development work. You're going to the gym daily. You're going to the gym 3 to 7 times a week. Doing what the average does not do. And average inspires nobody, so you're becoming an unaverage individual with an unaverage physique. You're like 1% of the population if you can bench 225 and if you actually have a decent mid physique. So, all of this accumulates into a lot of personal development. All of this accumulates into personal growth, different morals, different principles you abide by on a daily basis, and now you're being an admirable individual for your future wife and your future kids. Now your wife is looking at you all crazy because she loves your physique. And even people with wives and kids now fail to work on themselves physically because they allow any excuse they have in procrastination to come up within their way in their day and distract them and ail them away from what they actually should be doing in life, which is, the fitness. a lot comes with it. It's not about the actual result itself, it's about the journey that you take to obtain the actual result itself and the characteristics and traits that you develop over time. But if you guys really need help with, staying consistent on that, then shoot me a DM and I can see what I can do to help on Instagram. It's John M. Kimball01. And that's exactly what I do. I post all kind of things for, like skinny, like intermediate or beginner lifters that are trying to gain and defend themselves, because just as I was trying to gain and defend myself, I almost got jumped by 20 people one time and I felt absolutely hopeless and useless. And now I do boxing. I've won multiple times in boxing. I got trophies in boxing. I climbed to the top of my class in boxing. I was 190 pounds, at my highest, and 118 pounds at my lowest. All of this stuff. And I can say that the best thing I benefited from it was the mental aspect of it. Was the actual personal development, the person that I became from it. But the pain that I had and that I caused my people, just because I was selfish myself and didn't allow myself to get better, because I hated myself and I hated the view of myself. I feel like skinny people have this aura to them that's just, I don't know, it's just like self-centered and not really, I don't know, it's just weird, very, like, you don't really care about your body type thing. And that's what I had, that's how I felt about myself, and I never allowed myself to be like that ever again, never will I. I take it as a lesson from the past to apply it now in the present moment, to never be like how I was, and to always take it as an example of what not to be like. That's all you can do. And there's plenty of, and then just like Scott, I helped Scott, one of my cousins, gain 23 pounds, effortlessly. His coworkers noticed, he noticed the confidence that he gained, and the insecurity that he had from being so scrawny and skinny, seeing the same exact angle from the back, this angle right here, when you look, you're like, oh shit, my arm is, it's just horrible, but now, I mean, if my girl's over and then I'm all jacked and stuff, taking off my shirt, just like I'm walking around the house and my girl's looking at me, I'm fucking jacked, all veiny and stuff, tatted up. They love that. They absolutely love that. Now your kids are looking at you as a superhero. My girl's little sisters look at me with more of a superhero than they do their own dad. It's crazy. I'm like picking them up and throwing them in the air. I mean, how do you expect to play with your kids? I pick my girl up, I throw her in the air, playfully and for other reasons that she loves. So I mean, it just all benefits from it. And I couldn't imagine getting my buddy to carry my girl from my wedding, because I cannot, because I'm physically incapable. Extremely, it's just big oral loss in today's words. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe. I'm gonna be posting more content like this, and it's gonna be very helpful and beneficial. I love you guys.